Good morning. Myself Ashagila Devi, Assistant Professor in Rogni College of Engineering and Technology. Today we are going to discuss about the subject CS3391 Object Oriented Programming. In this subject, today we are going to discuss about the topic overloading methods. So what is the outcome is on successful completion of this module, the student should be able to write programs using method overloading. So next we are going to discuss about the Java method overloading. In Java, two or more methods may have the same name if they differ in parameters. So these methods are called as overloaded methods, and this feature is called as method overloading. So when we are applying method overloading, we are going to use a single method for doing multiple operations. That is, by using single method, by changing the parameters as well as the return data type, we are going to do different operations. So this is called as method overloading. So in this example, they have given a function called, or the method called function, func. So they have overloaded this method. The first method doesn't have any parameters. In the second method, we use a single parameter. In the third method, they have just changed the parameter as well as the return data type, that is mentioned as float function AA. Okay, so they have changed both the parameters as well as the return data type. So this method overloading can be done by using both the ways, by using method name, by using the change of your return data type as well as the parameters we are using. So next, we can have two different ways to perform a method overloading. One is overloading by changing the number of parameters. Second is method overloading by changing the data type of parameters. So the first thing is by changing the number of parameters means, in the same example, consider if I am using a function called sum. I can use void sum of integer a, that is a single parameter. Similarly, in the same function, I can use it as integer sum of integer a comma integer b. So I have changed the parameters, number of parameters. Instead of using single parameter, here I am using two parameters. So this is overloading by changing the number of parameters. Similarly, you can do the same thing, that is method overloading, by changing the data type also. See example, if I am using sum of integer a, that is one method. The same method can also be written as sum of float a. Okay, so I am not going to change the number of parameter. Instead, I am going to change the data type of the parameter. So in the first time, I am using integer. In the second time, I am using float. So this is also called as method overloading. So this method overloading can be done by using by changing of number of parameters, or by changing the data type of the parameter. Next is, we can also use the object as parameters. The method can take an object as a parameter. For example, when I are using a function called setData, we can see this in this example. So in this example, we have created a class called test. So what is this test of? Test of function is the constructor. We know that the constructor should have the same name as your class. So here we are using a constructor called test of. When the constructor is called, a constructor is called when we are creating an object for the class. So when we are creating an object for test, this constructor test will be called. So here what we are doing is we are getting a value, and that value is assigned to the variable called a. Okay. So now we move on to the main function. In the main function, I am going to create two objects. So first I am going to create ob1, that is object 1. Second, I am going to create object 2. So when I am creating object 1, I am calling like this, that is test ob1 is equal to new test of 2. That means it calls the one argument constructor. So in the one argument constructor, for integer I am just passing a value 2. So now the I value is 2, that I value is assigned to a. Now what is our a value? Our a value is 2. Next, I have created one more parameter ob2. I am not going to call any constructor there, so there is no value in ob2. Now I am going to use the change object function. So this change object function is called. So when we call this change object function, here we are creating an object for this test. So that is a temporary object. So in that temporary object, I am going to use parameter as a plus 10. So we know that already the value of a is 2. That value is added with 10. So it returns a value 12. Okay. So in the object temp, the value 12 is there. Okay, so that value is given to OB2. So now what is the A value in object 1? In A value in object 1 is 2. What is the A value in object 2? The A value in object 2 is 12. Okay, so now if you print the value, the OB1.A will give you 2 and OB2.A will give you 12.